Good evening, intuitives. This is my second attempt at making this because while I was 2/3 of the way through, my tablet here decided that even though I have plenty of memory, it just didn't feel like recording anymore, and it didn't show that I had a time limit. But here we are. So, welcome new subscribers to a channel where a nobody aging pretty boy talks about navigating through life as a male, heterosexual, demisexual INFJ, INFJs in general, narcissistic abuse, bullying and hazing, progressive politics, and other topics when I feel like it. And maybe I'll share some bad poetry too. This is raw, unedited, and uncut, which makes me either lazy or authentic or both. You decide. What does your intuition tell you? But the topic I wanted to get into today, before I finally go to bed, before having to be at work at 6 in the morning again, even though I closed again today, it's fun getting home at like 9:30 and going back to work at 6 in the morning. But I wanted to discuss why INFJs sometimes go into what I call Hermit Mode. Now, first off, I already talked about how some INFJs, especially demisexual ones, can give up on love. And it's like, isn't that the same thing? No, it's not the same thing. An INFJ who gives up on love is giving up on the idea of making a romantic connection. Giving up on love doesn't mean you're giving up on all types of connections with people. Like, finding deep connections, albeit platonic, or on some other level other than that romantic partner. Hermit mode, on the other hand, is you're basically saying fuck the world and interacting with people pretty much only when necessary. And there's certain fucked up shit that can cause this. Sometimes it's environmental, sometimes it's not. So, an INFJ in hermit mode, basically, yeah, you still got to go to work and get your car fixed and interact with people when you have to. But when you don't, you won't. And you will resign yourself to your fortress of solitude because there's nothing left in the world for you. And by the world, I mean wherever you're stuck at the time. That is the world to you if you are unable to escape that place, be it the middle of nowhere or some cult-like suburb. So, in hermit mode, an INFJ will typically get there by not being able to encounter, meet, or make a connection with other people where they share common interests and are able to have like deep, meaningful conversations, trust, things of that nature. Typically in an environment where everything is surface level, quid pro quo, materialistic, go with the flow, fall in line, it is what it is, this is what you signed up for, just conformity and fads and blowing with the wind whatever possible, because we don't like any of that. So if we're in that lack of authenticity, if we're in that environment where we can't make an authentic connection with somebody on any level, be it romantic, platonic, or whatever, we may resign ourselves to hermit mode, because if everybody around you is fake, then we don't want to be around them. And if it's everybody, we're like, what's the point? Because better to be the lone wolf than to be in a pack that you despise. I know, I could have said that more poetic, and I did in the earlier version, but I forget what I said. It's late. Well, I haven't slept much the past 2 days. Anyway, so when this happens, and an INFJ resigns themselves to hermit mode, typically an INFJ will overthink the shit out of why they're in hermit mode. Could cause depression. You might drink too much, chain smoke, everybody eat too much. It depends on, INFJ to INFJ. But typically you'll try to occupy your mind with your own interests, throw yourself, deep into whatever interest you have that allow you to think deeply about something other than why you're being a hermit, be it philosophy, histories, mysteries, cryptozoology, writing bad poetry, dark humor, satire, Shakespearean plays, just to name a few random things. Anything of that nature that can get your mind deep into thought about something other than your shitty situation. And you'll be more content that way, because an INFJ will be more content in hermit mode, exploring their own interests, than being around inauthentic fake people that are more or less using you and forcing yourself to have endless, meaningless, surface level conversation. Ugh. So, when an INFJ is in the hermit mode, after some time, and not even by chance after hermit mode, anything getting any better, an INFJ may start sliding down that slope into becoming a misanthrope, which is a hard mountain to climb back from. Because if you're stuck in a particular environment, you'll start to think that everywhere else is like the environment you're in, particularly if it's where you grew up and your narcissistic family act as if that place is the whole world, and act as if everywhere is like that particular area because they think the world centers around it, even though it doesn't. They've never lived anywhere else. Okay, that one might be a little specific, but my point's still valid. Understand that when you're in hermit mode, it may not be you. It could be, but it may be that environment. Maybe, the type of area you're living in, the culture of that particular town or city is fucked up. And maybe the majority of the people there don't think for themselves and are just mindless sheep that fall in line behind some self-appointed authoritarian because it's cult-like. In that case, you shouldn't resign yourself to hermit mode for life. Do not believe, if you're being influenced by narcissists, that, oh, well, this is like this everywhere and you just got to go with the flow. Even if you move, everywhere is like this. It's just how it is. And you got to conform because we told you to. No, there are, places where you'll fit in better, because I've lived 7 other places, and the other 6 in Chester County. Even I, an INFJ, didn't have really much trouble making some deep connections with people. So, yeah, it can very well be the area you're in. And it's important not to resign yourself to that fate of hermit mode, to try to think like, well, this is the best it's ever going to be, and I have to essentially submit to this status quo, submit to this fate, and just embrace the life I have now. No, fuck that. Especially if you're being influenced by narcissists, that's what they want you to do, because they want to keep you at your lowest so that they can control you, and that's a separate video on narcissism, but that's what they want. So, an INFJ in hermit mode, what you need to do is, if you're in an area that sucks, you're probably going to stay in hermit mode, but you have to plan your exit strategy. And yeah, it usually takes months, maybe even a year, to get out. But understand, do not give up completely. I mean, it's one thing to give up on that area. If you lived in one area for long enough, and you've made honest attempts and you're just like, I just don't fucking fit in here, then get out. It doesn't mean like, oh, I just don't fit in anywhere in the world. And INFJs, at least at one time in our lives, think that we don't belong anywhere, that we're, this relic, this remnant of an era long gone when, people gave a shit about merit and honor and integrity, and everything wasn't about money and popularity and money and fads and money and, being part of a group and money and keeping up with the Joneses. And I think I should mention money. So, understand that that's not everywhere, not all people, and particularly not all places there are to live are that narcissistic boomer Hades culture, I would say, to sum it up in a way that should make sense, like that, greed is good, whoever dies with the most toys wins, that kind of thing, oh, I know, there you go again. Yes. I have a lot of bad things to say about the Reagan era, except the music. But anyway, so if you're an INFJ and you feel that you are in hermit mode, figure out like what you are looking for and where it could be possible to find that, and start, coming up with an idea of like what job you want to do and how you can find it in an area better than where you are. Yeah, if it's a recession, it's going to be a bitch. I remember I had me in hermit mode for a little while because there was no getting to where I wanted to go. Yeah, but do not like resign yourself to the fate of, well, I can't escape where I'm at, so I have to just basically embrace hermit mode for life and be resigned to the shitty job that I'm stuck in now because everybody around me is telling me to give up and submit to this status quo and go with the program. No, no, they want you to be more compliant with them. You're being used, probably narcissistically. It could be in other ways too, but somebody's trying to control you for some purpose if they're telling you that. And typically your intuition comes in the play here too. If your intuition is telling you that hermit mode, you're at least short term, is that your best essentially method to survive a shitty situation, it's probably right. I mean, I can recall your sidebar time when right after I was recovering from my major knee surgery, I was working a job I hated 7 days a week, and I was around a lot of people that had drug problems, and they were just, I don't want to, I'll do a separate video on what I call the clubhouse. It was my brother's group, but my mother tried to browbeat me into being a part of that group, and I just wasn't having it. And that was like the majority of the people around me, and some of them actually worked for me. I was their supervisor. They worked for me on the grounds crew because we were desperate for people, because when you don't pay shit, you scrape the bottom of the barrel for employees. That's usually how it goes. But, I didn't want to be a part of their group. I didn't want to be any part of their lifestyle or culture or anything. And so I retreated into hermit mode. It was the best option I had at the time for self-preservation. And sometimes that's what hermit mode is for an INFJ. You retreat into your fortress of solitude, into your own mind, into your interests that allow you to get deep in thought. Because doing so is far less painful and depressing for you than to force yourself to interact with people that don't understand you, that don't really have any values or integrity or anything, and everything's about living in the moment, and they slit their best friend's throat for you name it. Let's just say 10 minutes of instant gratification. So that would be far less taxing on our mental health, being forced to essentially be a part of the type of group that we've avoided our whole lives and worked our whole lives not to be a part of, just because, well, it all comes down to blind luck. No. And anybody who's trying to make you, be a part of such group is trying to control you and keep you down. There's various reasons why that could be, but that's essentially what it is. You can't give up and resign yourself to the idea of, well, this is all it's ever going to be or the best it can be, and just, hurl yourself into the hands of fate. No, no, no. You have to defy. Always, always defy. Well, not always defy, but in this instance, defiance is your friend. And a good game. Legacy of Kain. I know I mentioned that too much, but, had a profound effect on me in my early teens. And I love quoting it when I can. But so, when you're in hermit mode as an INFJ, understand that it may be your best option for the time, but you have to remember to have it be a short-term solution, because that's all it's going to be. Hermit mode's not going to save you forever, because as INFJs, we're pretty much like the definition of ambiverts, or at least the most extroverted of the introverts. We need deep connections with people. Now, we're very choosy on who those people are, and we're fine with it being a small inner circle. We're not the type to crave adoration from strangers or acquaintances, or to have a large group of acquaintances, but to be completely alone in hermit mode for too long will, start to become taxing on you. And understand the solution may very well be that the environment that you're currently in, that you feel stuck in, that you feel you can't escape, is the problem, that it's not you. And particularly people who only know that environment and have no ambition and want to see other people suffer and stay down are going to try to talk you out of that. But you must trust your intuition. If it is something with you, then yes, obviously improve it. But if you think logically, use that introverted thinking, and the solution comes down to is, well, it's not me, it is this place, or it is this group of people, then the answer is to get away. And hermit mode will save you from a bad environment or a bad group of people, and allow you to maintain your identity, your integrity, your honor, your sense of deep thinking, so your brain doesn't atrophy from, painful surface level small talk and whatever is popular at the time, which we don't care about. So, people with no authenticity, shadows with no substance, as I like to say. So, hermit mode can be the solution short term. Understand that it's not a long term solution, that as INFJs we can handle complete isolation for a time. I'd say a few months isn't really too hard for us. But during that time, you have to be, when you're overthinking, as you're always going to be doing, overthink the logistics of how the fuck am I going to get out of here. And yeah, that can be difficult based on the economy at the time. Been there, lived through that. But don't give up on whatever you're trying to do. Remember, for us INFJs, the impossible just takes a little bit longer. We're pretty good at defying the odds when we actually care to. So remember, if you're in hermit mode, trust your intuition, whether or not it's you or it's things out of your control, such as the environment in which you're trapped in, and never sell out your integrity to be a part of a group just so you can escape hermit mode.